Breaking news in the Bronx. This is Bronx Fan Central.
The Yankees just made a move that most people are going to scroll past without thinking twice. But pay attention to this, because if this guy stays healthy, this could actually matter. The Yankees signed a pitcher who, at his best, was one of the more underrated arms in the American League. Solid ERA, good command, nasty cutter, the kind of guy you build a rotation around. And here's what nobody is talking about. He hasn't really pitched in almost 4 years. So what does Brian Cashman see here that everyone else is missing? And is this a low-risk flyer? Or is there something bigger going on behind the scenes? Stay with me, because this one's worth understanding. The Yankees just signed Luis Garcia to a minor league deal. And yeah, I know what you're thinking. Luis Garcia, the guy who hasn't really pitched in years? That's exactly him. Garcia was a starting pitcher for the Houston Astros, right-handed. Solid build. And for a stretch in 2021 and 2022, he was quietly one of the better starters in the American League. Not flashy, not a guy who throws 98, but effective, the kind of pitcher who competes every single outing and makes your lineup work for every run. The Yankees brought him in on what's expected to be a 2-year minor league contract. And the reason it's 2 years, because Garcia just had his second Tommy John surgery back in October. So realistically, he's not pitching in the Bronx anytime soon. The earliest he becomes a real option is 2027. That's the deal. That's what happened. Now let me tell you why this is more interesting than it looks on the surface. To understand this signing, you gotta understand who Luis Garcia was before the injuries broke everything apart. Between 2021 and 2022, this guy made 28 starts and put up a .360 ERA over 312 innings. Think about that number for a second. 312 innings across 2 seasons. That's durability. That's a guy who was eating innings and keeping his team in ball games consistently. His fastball was never his weapon. He sat around 93, 94 miles per hour. Nothing that's gonna blow anybody away. But Garcia was smart. He lived off his cutter, mixed in a slider and a changeup, and the results spoke for themselves. His swing and miss rate was above average. Hitters couldn't square him up. He had command, he had a plan on the mound, and he executed it. Then 2023 started, and honestly, he was better. Through his first 5 starts, 4.00 ERA, 26% strikeout rate, and his cutter was generating swings and misses at the best rate of his career. He looked locked in. His 6th start of that season lasted 8 pitches. He walked off with a trainer. UCL tear. Tommy John surgery in May of 2023. From that moment on, it's been one of the more painful recovery stories you'll find in baseball. The Astros thought he was ahead of schedule in 2024, and then his elbow got sore again. They shut him down. He missed all of 2024. He started 2025 on the IL, got a second opinion, came back in September, threw 1 good outing, got hurt again, and went right back under the knife. 2 starts in the MLB over nearly 4 years. That's the reality of where Luis Garcia is right now. Now, where do the Yankees fit into all of this? Look, the rotation picture in New York is not as clean as anybody wants it to be. You've got your top guys locked in, but depth? Legitimate depth behind the front end of that rotation. That's always a conversation worth having with this organization. The Yankees front office has made a habit in recent years of identifying arms with upside that didn't work out somewhere else, guys who need a fresh start, a new environment, a new pitching staff to work with. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but the approach is consistent. Garcia fits that profile perfectly. He's 29 years old, he's not a prospect anymore, but he's not done either. If he comes back healthy in 2027 and looks anything like the pitcher he was in 2021 and 2022, you've got a legitimate mid-rotation starter on what is almost certainly a very team-friendly deal. That's the bet the Yankees are making here. Low risk, real upside if everything breaks right. And I get it, if you're watching this right now, you might be skeptical. And you should be. I'm not here to tell you this is some genius move that changes the franchise. It's not that. 2 Tommy John surgeries, 3 years of missed time, a guy who's thrown 8 and a third innings in the big leagues since May of 2023. You have every right to raise an eyebrow. But here's what I want you to think about. You've seen what happens when teams ignore these types of guys. They end up somewhere else, they get healthy, and suddenly you're watching them dominate your lineup in October. The Yankees didn't let that happen here. They got Garcia for basically nothing. A minor league deal. He's not blocking anybody. He's not taking a roster spot from anyone you care about right now. The downside is almost zero. The upside, A healthy Luis Garcia is a 3.60 ERA starter who knows how to pitch. That's not nothing. That's actually pretty valuable. So keep an eye on this one. Don't sleep on it just because the name didn't make headlines. Here's the part most people aren't analyzing correctly. The contract being 2 years is the key detail. It lines up almost perfectly with a realistic recovery timeline for a second Tommy John. We're not looking at 12 months. With the second surgery, you're looking at 14, 16, maybe 18 months before a pitcher is truly ready to compete at a high level again. The Yankees know this. They planned around it. What this tells me is that the Yankees medical staff has already looked at Garcia, at his elbow, at his mechanics, at his history, and they saw something they liked. Teams don't offer 2-year commitments, even minor league ones, without doing that homework. And there's something else worth mentioning. Garcia's stuff never really declined. Every time he came back, the quality was there. The problem was structural. The UCL kept giving out. It wasn't like he lost velocity or his cutter stopped working. He just couldn't stay on a mound long enough to prove it. If the second surgery finally fixes the underlying problem, and sometimes the second one does, you're potentially getting a different pitcher than the one who broke down. More durable, more aware of his body, and pitching for a team that has real motivation to develop him properly. Personally, I like this move, and I'll tell you why I like it beyond just the baseball reasons. I've watched this organization long enough to know that the Yankees don't do charity signings. They're not signing guys out of sentiment. When Cashman's front office goes out and picks up a pitcher with this injury history, there's a specific reason. They see something, whether it's the analytics on his pitch movement, whether it's something in how he's throwing during his current rehab, whether it's intel from someone inside the Astros organization. Something drove this decision. I trust that process, even when I can't see all the pieces. Is Luis Garcia going to save the 2026 season? No. He's not even going to be in the conversation for 2026. But if you're building a deep organization, which the Yankees absolutely should be doing, you need guys like this in the system. Arms with real MLB pedigree, working their way back, hungry to prove something. Garcia has everything to prove, he knows it. The Yankees know it. And that kind of motivation, it matters more than people give it credit for. So here's where I'll leave you. Luis Garcia is not the headline move of this offseason. He's not the guy you're going to see on the back page of the Post. But 2 years from now, if he walks into a spring training healthy, arm feeling right, cutter moving like it was in 2023, we might be looking back at this as one of the smarter low-key additions this front office made in a while. Or maybe the elbow doesn't hold. Maybe we never see him in pinstripes. That's possible too. And I'd be lying if I told you the odds were overwhelmingly in his favor after everything he's been through. But that's the game. You take calculated shots, you build depth. You don't ignore an arm like this just because the road has been rough. The Yankees made their bet. Now we watch. If you want to help the channel keep growing, the link is in the description. It genuinely makes a difference. See you in the next one.